When we start working with a new client, values are one of the first things that we address when we're doing the strategic assessment, which is roughly first 4 to 6 weeks of getting to know the new business. We do a lot of one-to-ones, and one of the things that we are asking is, what are the values of this organization? Most of the time, if there are values, they are implicit, meaning that there's things that are talked about, or there's a general feeling, or there might be a slogan or something on a wall somewhere. Sometimes the companies will even have values, but there'll either be too many or they aren't talked about enough and nobody knows what they are. Sometimes the values are just words, and it's up to each individual to interpret those words to mean whatever they're supposed to mean. Well, we think that it needs to be a lot more intentional than that. Values, we call them the heart of your culture. They are the basis by which we govern govern behavior. They're the way that we judge whether behavior is good or bad. They're the reasons that we call people out for doing great things, and they're also the basis of some of the hardest conversations we can have in an organization. So what are they? What are values when Axiom talks about values? Well, there's 3 to 4 words. There's a great tendency to make these 5, 6, 7, 8. We've seen 12 values before. Nobody's going to remember 12 values. More importantly, having too many is going to water down your culture. Most business owners are worried that if they don't pick the right values or get enough values, there's going to be behavior that falls between the cracks. And that's simply not true. 3 to 4 values are enough to form the basis for your culture. The values also have to have succinct definitions. Over time, the word, whatever the value word that you pick, just becomes a proxy for that definition. It's the definition that describes how that value is lived out in your particular culture. And they need to be short, they need to be succinct, they need to be memorable. Stay away from cliches. We have companies that have values like integrity. That is not our first choice. Truth is one of our values, and that even honesty can be another cliched value. Try to stay away from cliches if you can. Use common language. If you are going to use one of those commonly used words, then you need to have a definition that stands out. And then finally, make them visible. You need to put your values in a place where people can see them. I'm a big fan of having them in your physical space. If you have a virtual team, you need to find ways to incorporate your values or get something in everybody's workspace that's going to remind them of what those values are. One of the best examples I have of this is Devin, one of our earliest team members, framed our values. He had them printed on canvas, and he gave it to me as a gift. And it's sat next to my desk for the last 5 or 6 years. And it's a great constant reminder of what we're about and what are the non-negotiable things that I am held accountable to just as much as everybody else. I'll give you some example. This is the example that I can give you because it's ours, right? This is the one I'm most familiar with. We have 4 values: care, truth, diligence, and learning. And we've defined those as loving those we serve for care. So they're embodied in that is this attitude of servant leadership. We have to care for people. If we're not serving them, we're not caring for them. Truth, clients pay us to tell them things that nobody else is going to tell them. We have to speak the truth, even when it's hard to say and when we know it's hard for the client to hear. Diligence, we bring the right amount of work to the task. And finally, learning. We're humble and we seek to understand more each day. Now, I've referenced clients in these, as I've described these values, but these same values hold for our treatment of each other. In fact, they hold first and foremost for our treatment of each other. So that's one more thing to keep in mind about values is they should be focused internally first, and then they will radiate externally out to your customer base and your vendors and your trade partners and the community at large. Values become the heart of your culture. If there's just a few of them, if they have succinct, memorable definitions, you stay away from cliches and you make them visible.